obviously there's more than 5 ways to boost morale in a unit. And that's where, as the frontline supervisors, that's where we, senior NCOs, squadron leadership, depend on you, because you got to have your finger on the pulse of airmen, and you've got to know your airmen, because what motivates Sergeant Fisher is going to be different than what motivates you. Plain and simple. So you have to be able to know your airmen. You have to be able to interact with them, know what's important to them, because if you don't, then you may be firing arrows and not hitting any targets at all. 5, trying to narrow it down to 5. The most effective 5 that I can, and I'm going to show my age because I'm going to put my glasses back on. Awards, recognition, discipline, standards, time off. Awards and recognition almost sounds like the same, but they're not. Awards, obviously, when we're doing quarter boards, when we're doing annuals, BTZ, and medal presentation, when you've got folks that are on station long enough and they get that time on station medal, usually after about 3 years. That's what I'm talking about, awards. You have those airmen out there and your peers out there that are like, you know what, you only get those if you're brown nose. I'm not going to go around and kiss somebody's backside so I can be airman of the quarter, or so I can get a BTZ stripe or anything like that. That's not how that stuff happens, because you as supervisors saw it when you were airmen. I saw it when I was an airman and a junior NCO. But you can pick those people out. You go, yep, that's exactly what they want. And when you went to ALS and when you went to NCOA, if you've been there, and if not, when you go, you'll see the folks that we call woodchucks, because they're wanting that piece of wood to bring home. And it's not necessarily about the betterment of the class. It's about, they make it about them. And if they're doing it for them, then they're missing the mark. The ones that truly deserve the awards are the ones that when you sit down as a class and you vote for an award and you go, that person right there, they were at every one of the activities, they were the first one there, they were the last one to leave. We really need to recognize that person, because they were doing it so that we all had a better time, or they took care of everybody. So that's where those awards become important. Recognition. I can give you an award, but if we do it in my office and it's just the 2 of us, okay, it still feels nice, but doesn't have the power and the kick that it should. It needs to be public. For security forces, when I was still a cop, you do it at guard mount. You've got 45, 50 people standing there that you can call that person up to the front, and you say in front of everybody, in front of their peers, you say this person excelled at what they were doing at this point in time. And you present them with a coin, you present them a pat on the back, you give them a 1-day pass, which goes into the time off. But you make it public so that everybody knows. Because it separates them a little bit, but it also motivates and enhances the morale, because it's going to drive other people to aspire for that, because they know that it's going to be recognized. I mean, you're not going to go above and beyond, above and beyond, above and beyond if it's never recognized. And for some of us, a pat on the back that says, hey, you did a great job today. That's all. That's good. That's all we really need. That's all we really want. It doesn't have to be public. But for some of those airmen, at least getting them started down that road of always excelling, they've got to see, they've got to know that it's going to be public. Discipline. Discipline may sound funny as far as trying to enhance morale, because everybody thinks about discipline about, LOR, LOC, Article 15, I'm hammering you, I'm kicking you out, whatever. I tell you though, those items, that type of discipline will enhance the morale of a unit when used properly. Because if you've got airmen or NCOs or senior NCOs, doesn't matter, that are not behaving the way we should as airmen, big A airmen, then it is going to negatively affect everybody else's morale, because they're going to see it and they're going to know that that person's slacking. You're having to carry the extra weight from the job that they're not doing. And so that's that lack of discipline is a negative morale. So by stepping in and saying, airman, NCO, senior NCO, here's the line. You need to toe the line, or we're going to correct you. And we will use the appropriate corrective tools, progressive discipline, but we use the appropriate corrective tools and make sure that you are back in line and maintaining standards. That increases everybody else's morale. Because now you know that, you know what? They are expected to work. I'm expected to work. Everybody here is expected to do their job. It gives me, nothing aggravates me more than to walk into an office on the base, and I guarantee you that at some point in time, each one of you have done this. The person on the other side of the counter is like, yeah, we'll get to it. And that may not be their words, but that's their attitude, and you can pick up on that. And they don't really have that drive, they don't really have that ambition that, you know what, for the next 3 minutes, because that's all it's going to take care of your problem. The next 3 minutes I'm going to do nothing but focus on you. And I'm going to take care of your problem. Whether it be finance, MPS, legal, security forces, it doesn't matter. There's not a job on this base that's not in some function of a customer service business. And all it takes is maybe that 3 minutes to take care of your problem. And then if they get into it and they find out that it's a little longer, well, then they need to either let you know or dedicate the time right then if they have to. But we need to do our jobs. And that's where the standards come in, and that's where we are going to, through the progressive discipline, we can make people create an environment where they're going to do their job. And that's only fair. And so if I've got one airman that's slacking and I've got one airman that is picking up all that slack, I guarantee the airman that's picking up all the slack, he's not having fun at work. He's not having good days. When he gets out of bed in the morning, he has no desire to come to work. He doesn't care about his uniform, he doesn't care about his haircuts, he doesn't care about anything, because the guy sitting next to him sits there and is on FaceSpace or MyBook all day long on the computer and has nothing, isn't doing any work. But you step in and you correct that airman, this guy's productivity is going to go up because he knows that it's not going to be gotten away with. Standards, same thing as discipline. Correcting somebody, and it's a little different now with this uniform because we don't iron, we don't crease, we don't polish boots. Believe it or not, as a former cop, I miss that. There's a lot of people that like the wash and wear part of the uniform. That was my good sports center time, was sitting there ironing those creases in the uniform or sitting there polishing my boots and, you know, just clearing my head. But making sure people are maintaining their haircuts. Making sure that this is washed. If we're going to wash and wear a uniform, make sure that it's washed. Being an AMXS first sergeant, when I in-brief my new airmen that are coming from tech, I always advise them, keep one uniform in the closet that you don't wear out on the flight line. So that when they're on this side of the fence, when they're talking to MPS or they have to go to legal or they have to go to wherever, that they're not wearing that uniform that's got all the grease and everything else on it, so that it presents the correct military image. They're on the greasy side of the fence, so to speak. Okay, got it. You're turning that wrench on that jet all the time, you're going to get dirty. But there's nothing that says you can't keep one uniform so that your standards, when you're out away from those wrenches, are in line with what the Air Force says. Time off. That is a great morale booster because we all think we need more. We certainly, nobody gets enough, especially in the 4th Fighter Wing. We go from one major event to the next major event to the next major event. That's what we do on the calendar. For those of you that were here this time last year, you knew we were already having OREs. Halfway to the ORI, we segregated a few people and we said, we need you to concentrate on LCAP. Hit the ORI, finished up LCAP prep, took care of the LCAP, and then right around the corner now we've got the air show. So it is one major event to the next major event to the next major event. Make sure your airmen are getting time off. Make sure they're getting their time to study on their CDCs. Make sure that they're getting time to breathe so that when they come back to work, they're recharged. And when they've done something outstanding, when they've gone out and they've got that 95 or 90 and above on a PT test, whatever your command element dictates, give them a day off. Tell them, you know what? Your outstanding behavior, your outstanding adherence to standards and performance in the duty section, you need a day off. Now, they answer the phone correctly, they'll go, oh, great job answering the phone, and give them a day off. Don't be too liberal with that. But recognize when they've done something good. All 5 of these that I've mentioned, and like I said, there is a ton more. And that's where getting to know your airmen, and getting to know the NCOs that you work with, knowing what buttons they have, and knowing how to not exploit, but knowing how to push them so that you know how to motivate them and you know how to reward them, because everybody's different. Those are the best ways to enhance the morale in your unit. And when you have tried a bunch of stuff and you're not making any headway, a group like this with your peers in your duty section, or getting all of your airmen together and finding out, all right, look, we've tried this, and this, and everybody still comes to work dragging their head, dragging their feet, everybody's pissed off all the time. What is it? What's going on? You know, there's the subtle approach of trying to motivate them through these things, and then there's the direct approach. What is it that I need to do to make your life better? Now, some things are going to be outlandish and we're not able to do them. Other things have merit, and we can throw them up the chain of command and see who salutes, so to speak. But being tied in is the most important. But as far as 5, those would be the top 5 things that I would say are morale enhancers in a unit, and the quickest, and the way you can get the most bang for your buck and the quickest turnaround. Any questions? I could do like the Chiefs do and say I'm not leaving until I get 1, but I'm not going to do that. The first sergeants on his base appreciate you guys and appreciate the drive that you guys have in trying to make and pushing the 5-6. Because like I started out with, you guys are the frontline supervisors. Sergeant Fisher worked for me when I was still a cop, and she knows that I worked the dog out of the staffs and techs. Spent my time with airmen, and if my airmen were good, she was doing her job. If my airmen weren't good, she wasn't doing her job. So keep a pulse on your airmen. They'll tell you what's going on. They've got the airman notification network. They know all the rumors. They know all the things that are going on in this yard. Some things that you have no clue about. And if you don't stay tied into them, then you're not going to be able to affect their morale or the morale of your unit. But from the first sergeants, I appreciate what you guys are doing. And anytime you guys have questions, anytime you guys need something, all you got to do is holler. And I will be here for all your meetings. But okay, no questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.